So let's start. Like, just tell us. I know I gave like your bio and all of like you like have so many amazing things, experiences that you bring to us today. But why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So prior to ABA, I had a long time career as a fine artist. I launched my art career sometime when my youngest boy was about to turn 2 years old. So I have two older boys right now. They're 20 and 21. And I started the art business mostly out of hope that it would be something that I could be able to stay home with them. My younger boy had just been diagnosed with autism, and we were struggling to like figure out things that we could do for him because at the time we didn't have any knowledge of ABA or any kind of interventions or therapies that could be done. Um, I was, that desperate parent that was trying to find solutions, but it just made more sense for me to be at home, though I was really young at the time, and I was starting to go to university for graphic design. The art took off. I became very active in the online community, selling my work online, and eventually was doing other things where I got involved in the tech space because I was kind of an early adopter with social media. I was blogging and video blogging before YouTube existed. It was back when we had to upload videos to archive.org and then post it onto our blog. Like extensive processes that there were just to be a part of this like different thing. Then that knowledge kind of helped propel me to go into this other industry where I was teaching entrepreneurs in general how to utilize the web to navigate building an online business and launching. Straightforward to like 2013, 2014, I'm going back to school thinking I'm going to become an art educator. I'm like, let's add this to my cachet of things I'm doing as an artist. And my boys are much older at the time. And I had that Psych 101 class where I've learned that you actually get to work with kids on the autism spectrum. I had a professor who talked about working with them, and I was like absolutely intrigued. One, because I still didn't know anything about ABA. I hadn't heard anything about it. My kids were doing fine. And I know my younger boy actually had a form of ABA in kindergarten, experimental at the time. And I immediately did my research, got my first BT job and in a local center, and fell in love with the science, fell in love with ABA, immediately pivoted towards a degree in psychology. So I finished my undergrad at University of Michigan in applied psychology with a capstone in evolutionary psychology. I was really intrigued by that area. And then later on moved towards my master's in psychology and behavior analysis. I became a BCBA in 2019. And I've been in a variety of different environments and clinics, so smaller boutique clinics, larger corporations. And then later on did some work for Centria, kind of like they created this role for me where I was marrying the two worlds of my creative production, content production, and marketing with my experience in behavior analysis. And of course, my passion for SBT and PFA, because they were spearheading this program where they were shifting towards more compassionate care. And so I've done a variety of things, and I've been really passionate about the areas of RFT and ACT. So I was able to have the privilege of doing some work with Dr. Mark Dixon. And he helped kind of pave the path for me to publish the first book in Canvas. And so here I am. I don't know if that was too much information, but
No, that's perfect. It helps us to understand who you are and why you chose what you chose. Um, well, so tell us more about the like how you're marrying ABA and art. What does that look like?
yeah, sure. So it seems like a really perfect tool for the area of RFT. I think that a lot of what we do in derived relational responding and building those emergent relations are very easily approached in the art process. And being an artist, coming from a background where I used it as a form of communication, I used it as a form of all kinds of like self-regulation and presenting a message. It seemed like the right fit. And so I did a lot of my research in grad school trying to navigate whether this was already being approached in our field, which I was stunned that there really wasn't a whole lot. There was some research by Dr. Francis Mechner on the concept and kind of like a proposal he had made on us actually approaching this from both the analysis of experiencing art as well as the analysis of producing art. And I have been nonstop trying to figure out how we could marry the two. It's utilized, like in Canvas, it's utilized as a tool, not necessarily an approach, art therapy approach. That's a whole other area and outside of our scope. But in Canvas, we utilize it as a tool to build our skills in RFT and so forth.
Yeah. What would what individuals benefit the most from it? Is this something that you could apply in, any program for any individual on the spectrum who is also getting ABA, or is there a specific subset of individuals that it is better for?
That's a good question. I produced it with the idea in mind that could be utilized with any child of any ability, any age. The book itself, I created it in mind with the idea you could use it with kids that are at least 3 and up. I think that the kids that will benefit the most from it are the ones who already have that demonstration that they do find art reinforcing, because that's going to be an important part of that. Like, there's a lot of materials and media you're working with that might be aversive in some level. But again, I do have a lot of guidelines and help on how to navigate that area. With that said, I think older learners, adolescents will probably utilize it the best. I do have it programmed in such a way that they're targeting things based on their level. So all around, I think.
Yeah. Well, tell us more about your book.
Yeah. So Canvas is a curriculum that I developed to be able to target 2 things. So one, we're trying to build functional skills. It has its own program, curriculum program in it. It has an assessment process, and it also is able to be applied to kids based on what level they might be at. So you're targeting where they are in terms of their derived relational responding. Can they make derived relations? And what level they're at that. And then the art lessons, there's 2 types of art lessons that are going on in there. You have what's called the flow lessons, which is kind of like an everyday exercise in building those derived relations and also psychological flexibility, which again is another awesome thing about art as a tool for that. There's so many natural opportunities to make contact with challenging situations or difficult materials, or just creating art in general. So you have the flow lessons, the flow sessions that you can apply on a daily basis. And then you have the larger, what we call the expand lessons, where you're getting into a variety of materials, you're working on larger projects. It could be something that you're doing as a group. And there's about 200 art lessons in the book.